One Supreme Court justice, two controversial flags, and so many questions to answer. Joining me now is Ian Millhiser. He's a senior correspondent for Vox and covers the Supreme Court very, very closely. So you've read a lot of the pieces that I've read, or my team has read about this, that have kind of stuck out to us to help us understand it. Let me start by, has anything surprised you about all of this reporting about the flags appearing different places and kind of Alito's behavior in this way?
I mean, not just no, but hell no. I mean, Alito, I've covered the Supreme Court for about a dozen years, and like the one thing, it's like clockwork, is that Alito's going to vote for whoever the Republican is. During oral argument, you just wait for him to pounce on whoever the more liberal attorney is. Like he doesn't really have a worldview beyond Republicans should win. So the fact that he's now putting flags up that advertise the thing that he's done from the bench for the last 18 years that he's been on the Supreme Court, not a surprise at all.
I mean, it's right to your point, and we were just talking about this during the break. It's not just the flags. I mean, the flags are head scratchers. They're offensive. His wife's behavior is a little strange, but it's about the overlap with his worldview and how he operates. So as you look at how you've covered the cases in the courts, I mean, you just answered that he kind of is a reliable conservative voice. What other ways that he has been voting or ruling kind of should concern people?
I'm actually going to disagree with your choice of word there.
Oh, sure.
He's not a reliable conservative voice.
Oh, he's a reliable Trump vote.
He's a reliable Republican vote.
Yeah,
I mean, like, Clarence Thomas is a conservative voice. And, like, sometimes conservatism or Thomas's values leads him in a different direction than where the Republican Party wants to go, and Thomas goes where he wants to go. Alito will go wherever the GOP wants him to go in any case. You know, there's empirical data on this. You know, there's a study that looked at what are called standing questions. These are just questions about whether a party has jurisdiction to be in federal court in the first place. 100% of the time, if it's a conservative litigant, he votes that, yep, they've got standing. They could be in court. 100% of the time, if it's a left-leaning litigant, he votes no on them. So this guy, he's not really a conservative. He's just a partisan.
Yeah. That's a one. Definitely. Correct me anytime, by the way. You are the expert. So let me ask you a little bit about John Roberts, because there's always hopes Democrats have about John Roberts, you know, doing the right thing, as many would say. There's a couple of members of the Senate who want to meet with him about asking, requesting Alito recuse. How will that go, and how would that work, even if Roberts wanted to do that? Can he force him to?
Not really. I mean, the one power that the chief has over the other justices is when he is in the majority, he assigns opinions. So if you were really mad at Alito, he could assign him a lot of crappy opinions that are really boring, that no one wants to work on. But he can't force Alito to recuse. I mean, realistically here, there is one point of accountability, and that is the election. You know, Alito wants his Republican Party to win. If Trump wins, there's going to be many more Alitos on the courts and potentially on the Supreme Court. And if Biden wins, then he has the opportunity to at least dilute Alito's vote by appointing people who are very unlike him.
Right. And to unpack this a little bit for people who don't follow this as closely, some of these Supreme Court justices are older and are likely to retire just by age in the next 4-year term. So that could mean Trump could appoint 2, I mean, maybe more?
Yeah, I mean, Alito is 74.
Thomas,
I believe, is 75. Roberts and Sotomayor are both pushing 70, and Sotomayor has a chronic health condition. She's a type 1 diabetic. So, like, the possibility that there's going to be at least 1 and possibly as many as 4 vacancies in the next term is pretty high. And if Trump gets to start, especially if he gets to a point, replace someone like Roberts, who's a more moderate conservative, or Sotomayor, who's an Obama appointee, then we're looking at an extraordinarily right-wing court.
And it's the model of Alito.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what I think is going to be different if there's a second Trump term from the first Trump term is the first time he didn't really know what he was doing. He didn't know who his friends were. Now he knows, like, I want to appoint loyalists. You know, Kavanaugh and Barrett, you know, 2 of his appointees to the Supreme Court, I mean, they're not good justices. They're very, very far to the right. But, like, they don't always vote the MAGA line. Like, you know, Barrett in particular, I think, is...
She's had some surprising moments recently.
Yeah, like, she's had some guns cases that I thought were, you know, she did a very sensible thing. You know, she's a real judge. She does something other than just do what her party wants her to do. Trump now knows he doesn't want anyone like that on the Supreme Court. He wants more Alitos. You know, Alito is the model for Donald Trump if he gets a second term.
And the first term, he basically took the Federalist Society list, right, and picked from that list.
Right.
What are they doing right now? Are they freaking out that he's not going to pull from their list?
I mean, possibly. I mean, the question, the service that the Federalist Society provides the Republican Party is that when there's like a vacancy on like a district court in Idaho, if you're the president, you probably don't know who the good lawyers are in Idaho, much less the ones who align with whatever you want to have happen. So the Federalist Society's service that it provides to the GOP is it knows who all the lawyers are and what they believe and who is reliable. And so if Trump goes to the Federalist Society and says, I want people like Alito, I want people who are going to vote lockstep for my agenda, it doesn't matter what the law says, the Federalist Society is going to be able to find those people for him because that's what they do.
That's their role. We just have 30 seconds left. But in the odds of recusal by Alito from the January 6th case, what do you put the odds of that at?
I am more likely to encounter a magical unicorn as I walk out the door to your studio than Alito is likely to recuse.
For all the unicorn lovers out there, I consider myself one of them. That means he thinks it's very, very unlikely.
Very unlikely.
Ian Millhiser, I could talk to you all night. You're so knowledgeable. It's really interesting talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me. I really
Thanks
appreciate
so much,
it.
Jen.
Coming up, we could have